being disloyal during a crisis, we narrate a story today with a similar motif. Enjoy the show. What an entrance to Friday it was. The warmth I felt was exhilarating. I laid on my back, propping my head with a pillow on Thursday evening. We spent 2 hours in lovemaking following a few delightful instances. Jeanette, my partner of 3 years, started to take more initiative, and we shared a sexual connection. After achieving our peak, we both rested in tranquil happiness. Life seems marvelous. That's all for now until Monday. Do you fret about the jealousy of others upon hearing your joyous declarations? Something of that sort. In that case, see you on Monday too. It made me laugh and shake my head. Thus began our Friday. Both of us took off on Friday, and Jeanette also took Monday off. As my vacation was ending, we came back Sunday evening, ready for me to start work on Monday. Our weekend was spent skiing in the mountains. Jeanette's good friend Tatiana and her husband Steve were sharing a rental with us, situated 5 miles from the ski resort. We had made the trip with them the year before. A different couple was supposed to join us on Saturday. Tatiana was Jeanette's maid of honor, and the situation was mirrored at their own weddings, which happened within a month of each other. Steve is the quintessential high school jock without the ability to advance. His conversational themes revolve around his former glories. I am confident I could match many of his home runs, decisive scores, and successful passes. Interestingly, both Jeanette and Tatiana were keen on sports during high school, being starters in volleyball and basketball. Their body types are alike, both standing almost 6 feet tall and slender. Possibly due to hearing them more than me, Tatiana simply stares with a vacant look as Steve shares his stories. It's not that I was uninvolved in school sports. I led as the main quarterback for the junior team for 3 years. Since high schoolers weren't allowed on the junior varsity team, I concentrated on college. While Steve has a college diploma, I wouldn't hire him. Indeed, all of us have sought after higher education. I still need to finish my dissertation, which might delay things. My advisor suggests aiming for about 6 pages. I've created an outline, but it will be tough. This is probably expected. Holding a master's signifies something to future employers. Remember to leave your golf clubs behind to free up space for our groceries. Certainly. Anything else needed, just make it happen. I proceeded to the garage, and as the garage door lifted, light peeked under my car. Having changed the oil the previous day, I decided to take a closer look. I spread the tarp on the ground and kneeled. Spotting a few oil drops under the oil pan, I felt them and recognized instantly it was oil. How challenging can it be to secure the oil drain plug tightly? Apparently more challenging than I thought. Crawling out, I grabbed my socket set and reached for it. True enough, the bolt was loose by about half a turn. Now it's tightened. I forgot the paper towel. After dealing with that, the problem was solved. I put away the tarp and went inside to wash my hands. Are we set to go? Nearly. Just need to rinse my face. What mess did you get into? The oil pan bolt wasn't tightened right. They're cheap, but it's wise to verify their work. Hurry, or we'll be late immediately. So this elicited a stern look and pursed lips from her. We met Tatiana and Steve at the grocery store close to our cabin. If 10 miles is considered close, it looked as though we were preparing for a month with 2 carts brimming with supplies. Impressive. Upon opening the trunk, I saw my golf clubs. Shoot, Dale, didn't I tell you to take those out? The back seat was filled with an array of sleeping bags and luggage, encircled by various snacks. The vehicle's rear could accommodate only a limited number of bags. Throughout the last leg of our trip to the cabin, Jeanette was silent. When we reached the cabin, the task of unloading our transport began. I initiated with the items from the back seat of our vehicle. Following several rounds, Tatiana and I returned to our transport. We moved past Jeanette and Steve, our hands full. The last bag of groceries was retrieved by Tatiana from the car. The sound of the car's rear closing with a solid sound caught my attention. I trailed behind Tatiana as she approached my car. The back door of my car was partially open, with 2 bags still inside. In the distance, a loud explosion was heard. Tatiana and I faced the mountain, observing the onset of a small avalanche. I had seen such events twice before they rolled down in a flurry for about 10 seconds before coming to a stop. This time was different. What looked to be around 20 feet across now extended to several hundred feet. The noise as it approached sounded like a freight train. Alas, it was heading straight for us in the vehicle. After securing the vehicle's rear, I jumped into the driver's seat, and Tatiana got into the passenger seat. The oncoming rumble sounded dreadful. We both looked on in shock as the avalanche approached. Anticipating the collision, I pressed my face into the steering wheel. Tatiana pulled her legs up and curled into a ball. The impact sent our car sliding as if it were a hockey puck. We soon collided with something firm. It seemed like just moments, yet I was frozen in fear. Suddenly, Tatiana let out a scream, akin to a teenager on a roller coaster's first descent. My heart felt like it was about to explode, surely beating over 100 beats per minute. A headache started. It was completely dark. I'm alive. Are you all right, Tatiana? I think so. My head's aching a little, and we're tilted, she responded. Yes, your side is higher than mine. I found and activated the switch, and there was light, I proclaimed. You've got blood just above your right eyebrow, Tatiana said worriedly. Examine me. Ah, nice hair, warm smile. What exactly am I looking for? I laughed, realizing I wasn't actively bleeding, at least not where it could be seen. I gave Tatiana a playful wink, and she turned a shade of red. We kept quiet for a bit. Trying to exit, I realized the door was jammed shut. A large area without snow was visible next to the front right tire. The lighting was dim, but it seemed we were beneath a canopy of huge trees. If we could reach this open area, we'd have enough air for a few days, assuming we used the fan to circulate away the carbon dioxide. After all, it's the CO2 that's dangerous, not the lack of oxygen. Did you manage to bring the last bag of groceries? I asked. Tatiana shook her head no, wondering if Steve and Jeanette were safe. Not sure. I've not seen an avalanche of this scale impact buildings before. The thought of Jeanette not surviving made my heart sink. Tears formed in my eyes, and I saw Tatiana wiping away her own. Seems we're not quite out of the woods yet, are we? Not until we breathe some air warmed by the sun, I reflected. Questioning if anyone knew we were trapped, I sounded the horn. Thankfully it worked, offering us a way to signal for help. We decided to honk every hour, or if we heard any signs of life. After a quiet moment, Tatiana stated, I don't want to die, same here. I hadn't thought today would be my last, I agreed. Although there was no cell service, I chose to write messages to show my love for my family and friends. That's a great idea. It's a pity I left my phone. I'd do the same. You can use mine. I had been writing for about 10 minutes when I became overwhelmed with emotion and handed the phone to Tatiana. She experienced similar feelings. For the next couple of hours, we alternated using the phone, each writing several messages as if they were our last. No replies came. The battery was fine, and we turned off the interior light of the car to save energy. I'm starting to feel cold, Tatiana mentioned, worriedly. Regrettably, we hadn't emptied the trunk earlier. The sleeping bags remained on the back seat. There's a way to reach the trunk by folding the rear seats. I have winter gloves and a rainproof coat. I think I have a pair of windbreakers too. Climbing into the rear seat, I began looking for the unlocking mechanism. It functioned properly. Illuminating the trunk with my mobile's light, I inspected its contents. Shortly thereafter, we were equipped with gloves, caps, coats, and rain gear. In addition, I grabbed the remaining 2 food packs. The stars of our meal were crunchy carrot sticks, frozen broccoli, and potato chips. Starvation wasn't in our immediate future. Remembering the energy drinks in my golf kit, I fetched them from the trunk. The sight of Tatiana in golf wear sent me into a fit of laughter. Feels warmer, doesn't it? It's surprisingly effective. How about a carrot stick? I'll make an exception for you if you'd like. I returned to the back seat, putting on the rest of the golf gear. Tatiana adjusted the front seat to recline as far back as it would go. It's a pity we're without a blanket, noted Tatiana. Look, I have these tiny towels I used for my clubs. They could cover our faces. Perhaps even the floor mats could offer some warmth. It's far from perfect, but it might give us a bit of comfort. That was exactly our course of action. We each took a towel, covered ourselves, then placed the towels over our faces. It definitely brought some warmth. Closing our eyes, we tried to rest. Waking up, I realized I had dozed off for a couple of hours. Tatiana's snore was gentle, as is typically said of women. Choosing not to wake her, I just lay there, reflecting on our situation and the broader picture of our lives. I don't want to end here. Will we be found before the snow melts? Are we going to meet our end merely an hour away from being rescued? My mom will be devastated, I'm concerned for Jeanette's safety. Tatiana suddenly woke up, shouting, "Don't worry, Tatiana, I'm right here. I had a terrible nightmare, Dale. I dreamed we were just bones in this car. I can't face death unprompted." I shifted to the rear seat. Her body heat was reassuring, I cannot lie. What time is it now? It's just after 7 p.m. The sun set almost 2 hours ago. That's why it feels colder. Are we going to die from hunger, freeze to death, or run out of air? I believe the cold is our only real threat right now. I'm really thirsty. When I tried the ignition, the driver's side window wouldn't budge, but the windows on the passenger side opened slightly. After confirming they could close again, I opened them a bit more. We used this opportunity to consume some snow for hydration. We managed to crack open a small vent into the night, ensuring a bit of fresh air circulated. After turning on the car's ventilation system for a brief period, I closed the windows again. Hoping to draw attention, I left the car horn blaring. Tatiana expressed the very thought on my mind. "I need the restroom." "Same here," I admitted. It appeared the car was tilted towards its front left. "I'm going to relieve myself." "Don't you dare peek, you pervert." "Wait, should I take the camera for a video?" "You'll regret it if you do soon." The car was filled with the sound and smell of urination. Once done, Tatiana took her place in the passenger seat, and I occupied the driver's seat, relieved myself, then started the car, lowering the windows. With the windows down, the fan was turned on. We voiced our frustrations about our predicament, then tried to settle in for the night. Following a half hour of quiet, Tatiana asked, "Are you okay? Do you need me to do that?" What I want and what I need to do now are two different things. "I think it's best if you hold me, so you won't say I bothered you throughout the night." Tatiana then moved to the back seat, rested against it, and drew me close. "Come closer, I'm feeling chilled." After covering ourselves with blankets, Tatiana placed her right hand on my chest, pulling me closer. Her warmth was immensely soothing. Had her hand ventured lower, I would have felt uneasy. Hidden by bath towels over our faces, we eventually drifted off to sleep. How long we slept is uncertain, until Tatiana pushed me aside, rolling away. Watching her take her seat in the driver's position, the car was again filled with the scent of urine. Checking the clock, it was nearly 5 a.m. Tatiana and I resumed our close embrace, neither wanting to fall asleep. "What's your plan if Jeanette is gone?" I was taken aback by the question. "Would you leave or stay? What about you?" "If Steve is gone, I'd probably return to my parents' place until I can cope with the grief." "How much time do we have left?" "Around a week," I answered, chuckling. "We have enough water and likely enough food for another few days. It's not certain if we have enough air. Since this is a main road, I'm hopeful we're being looked for." I snuggled up to Tatiana again, her hand slipped under my shirt. The feeling of touching skin to skin brought comfort. Hours were passed in deep conversation on a myriad of subjects, and some that seemed to lack any specific theme. After nibbling on a few chips and finishing off the celery sticks, we became cozy and eventually fell asleep. Waking up, I remained motionless as Tatiana quietly slept, her breathing creating a gentle snore. Glancing at my watch, it showed almost 5 p.m. Then, a soft thud, almost inaudible. "Tatiana, there was a noise." I alerted, starting to signal success, a trio of quick beeps, followed by 3 prolonged ones, and ending with 3 quick beeps again. Tatiana stirred slightly, whispering softly, "Please, please, please, please." Following a brief quiet, a tapping noise was heard by both of us. I sent out the SOS signal again, and then shouted, "Eureka!" Directly hitting our vehicle came a search rod. I honked the horn non-stop until the rod tapped the car once more. Despite knowing help was near, my tension grew with each passing minute. What's causing the delay? As Tatiana snuggled closer, I reached towards the driver's seat. Periodically, another search rod would hit the car, followed by voices saying, "Hang in there." We're close. The sound of metal clashing was more comforting than ever. I honked the horn again as a flashlight's beam cut through the snow. A senior rescuer, fully geared, offered us a smile. He cleared the snow blocking the driver's side door. Trying to open it proved difficult due to the snow. After several minutes of shoveling, the door began to crack open. The sound of a shovel hitting the door preceded it opening slightly. "Thank you, thank you, thank you, don't mention it," he said, aiding Tatiana and then me to get out. The outside world was shrouded in darkness. Around us stood about 20 people with lights on their helmets. They enveloped us in warm blankets, gave us water, and placed us on a sled. Is the house still standing? Which house? My heart sank. We were staying at 24269 Pine Way. It's home to a couple. He communicated my details over his radio. After a short talk, he informed us we couldn't find the house. It's too dark now, but we'll look again at sunrise. For now, let's get you to a hospital. Our car, buried under 15 feet of snow, was found because of the horn sounding off in the afternoon. This prompted them to continue searching into the night. Ready, Tatiana hugged me tightly, and we were moved to an ambulance. Following a comforting ride, we reached the ER, drawing a lot of attention. I was treated with 2 stitches for a small cut above my right eyebrow, which was the extent of our physical injuries. Thankfully, we showed no signs of major hypothermia. Yet we spent the night in the hospital to rehydrate and slowly bring our body temperatures back to normal. Tatiana was released early in the morning but waited for me. Talking with the emergency responders, they mentioned finding a cabin with signs of life. My heart swelled with happiness. I picked up Tatiana, twirling her as she leaned in to peck my cheek. "Why?" "Because you've been a true hero. Your calmness amazed me. I'm not sure I could have coped alone. With Steve, it would have been a different story. He'd be completely lost. So a big thank you. You're welcome, and thanks to you too. Your calmness was equally helpful." "Who was behind the rescue?" "I found someone in the dining area. Seems they set up a command center there. Let's go." The next 2 hours were tense, with no word from the search team. Around noon, the coordinator shared an update. 2 had been found alive. The use of heavy equipment was necessary as the building had collapsed. They were lucky to have been in a part that hadn't completely fallen down. Any word on when we can see them? "You'll get there, but it's too soon to say when." Despite feeling dizzy, the news that both were alive was a relief. "Kindly prevent any additional harm by the bulldozers." Subsequently, we got his message. They had both made it out safely and would be with us in half an hour. My eyes filled with tears. Tatiana and I hugged once again. I spent my phone's battery updating our family about what had happened. They were oblivious. They knew we were on a ski trip, but didn't connect it to the avalanche. The anticipation was now tangible. Meeting Jeanette on a stretcher and Tatiana meeting Steve in the same way brought tears of joy to everyone. We were allowed into their rooms after lunch, where we spent the first moments hugging tightly and whispering sweet nothings. "Hey, sweetheart, how was your weekend?" "We had a lot of snow here." "How about you?" "Oh, saw a couple of snowflakes." Her laugh was infectious, her kisses soothing, and her hugs felt like heaven. We almost reached my car before the disaster happened. "How did you guys make it?" "Purely by luck." A loud crash was followed by chaos. We were tidying the kitchen when the catastrophe occurred. I thought it was the end for me, but once the noise stopped, I realized I was still alive. It was pitch black, and I could hear Steve whispering. We had about a 3-foot space and stayed still for what felt like eternity. Indeed lucky. "Did you have any food or blankets?" "Just a few apples and a rug on the ground." The fear of dying from starvation or cold before that came to us. Our only source of warmth were the parkas and the rug. "Any injuries?" "I have a few small cuts and bruises, and Steve badly twisted his ankle." "How long are you here for?" "At least until tomorrow." "Our body temperatures are dangerously low," mentioned a medic. Surviving another night would have been doubtful after showing love to Jeanette. Guests were asked to leave. "Have a good night's sleep." "I'll go get your car and bring some clean clothes." Jeanette nodded. Then, almost pleadingly, said Dale, "Just leave them. I don't want these reminders of." "What happened?" I'll get rid of them myself. She was gripping the bag I was holding. Honestly, Jeanette, it's fine. These won't even seem like your clothes. They're practically new, I understand, Dale. Just give them here, please. Rest now. See you at first light, Dale. Give me that damn bag, Jeanette. You're upset. Sleep well. See you in the morning. If she could stand, she would have confronted me directly. Strangely, as I waited for Tatiana, she did come down in the elevator. He acts like a giant baby, truly intolerant to any disruptions. And Jeanette? She seems fine now. She got mad when I said I'd take her clothes home, wanting to throw them away herself to forget this nightmare. Everyone reacts in their own way. It's surprisingly delicate. It seemed she didn't want me to see that. Do you agree? And you, did I leave any of your clothes behind? No, all is here in this bag. Can I take it? Tatiana looked at me sharply. Their moods changed instantly, her look becoming stern. What mistake did he make? They're incredibly headstrong. This isn't just about one incident. I'll have to confront him. Tatiana left her stuff and headed for the stairs, the door slamming shut. I was stunned. Why would she act like that? She didn't seem like someone who had been attacked. I sank into the chair, heartbroken and vision fuzzy, as anger started to build inside me. Shortly after, security. Brought Tatiana back to the lobby. A guard, staying back, warned her to behave or be removed. I was terrified. He didn't say how often. A couple, he replied. We reflected on my life. What was happening? I wanted to scream. Never had I felt such rage. After a moment of silence, she began to cry. The phone showed an Uber would be there in 2 minutes. You can come with me. I'll take you home, she said through tears. It was a tough moment for both of us. When we got to her place, Tatiana gave me a gentle kiss on the cheek. Be strong, Dale. And you, Tatiana. Thank you for a memorable weekend. A smile broke through her tears. You were the best part of my trip. The drive back was filled with sadness, my emotions fluctuating. Blame her, hold her, leave her, forgive her, and then seek an explanation. Sleep was hard to come by that night. The next day, after doing what was necessary and eating, I went to my office. After sharing the weekend's events, I was given the rest of the day and the next off. Going through Jeanette's clothes, I picked out sweatpants and a matching top, then was overcome with anger. Last Halloween, she wore a dancer's costume. It was among the lacy clothes. This will do. Since her dresser drawers were slightly open, I chose to move her things into the office bedroom, giving her space to reorganize. Aiming to revert the pull-out sofa to our regular sleeping area, I picked up obvious women's items, disposing of them with her attire. It took a while before I could bring myself to enter Jeanette's room. Her relatives were very affectionate towards her. Tears had swollen Jeanette's eyes. After hugging and kissing my relatives, my attention turned to Jeanette, grieving. My initial anger towards her softened to a warm embrace. "Is this all for me?" she whispered, her acknowledgement of my understanding evident. Her lower lip trembled. "Are you leaving today?" "I think so," was my response. The care and warmth are beneficial, despite the terrible food. I can't seem to resist. Jeanette appeared uneasy, avoiding my look. "I'm going to get some coffee." "Do you want anything?" "I'll join you," said Jeanette's dad, Fred. At the cafeteria, he looked at me closely. "What's going on, Bale?" "I thought you two were truly in love, especially after everything that's happened, Fred. I have to admit, things at our house are not as calm as they seem." "Jeanette will tell you her side when she's ready." I felt overwhelmed and helpless. Bringing back a tray loaded with coffee and snacks to the room, we saw Jeanette drying her tears after we enjoyed our small feast. Fred and his family left, giving Jeanette and me a moment alone. Right then, her physician came in, advising her to get ready for her discharge. Jeanette picked up the bag with her clothes I had brought and went to change. She changed quickly. Should I wear this? It seemed she expected me to agree to some sort of dress code. We agreed to postpone physical intimacy until the following Monday. However, many commitments we made broke due to unexpected incidents. She grimaced in agony and hid in the bathroom, crying for close to 30 minutes. When Jeanette came out wearing the outfit, her voice was unsteady. "Does this please you not at all?" I answered. A nurse showed up, visibly surprised, with a wheelchair. I went to fetch the car as everyone watched Jeanette being wheeled to the passenger side. I decided against helping her into the car. The drive started silently. We reflected on the chaos in my life, not letting it tear us apart, which made her tear up again. The rest of the drive was silent. "What's going to happen now?" "Your stuff is still in the office," she cried softly for the rest of the journey. Upon our arrival at home, she found some strength and whispered, "I feel awful, me too," I admitted. My car was a mess, so I began the insurance claim. Driving the rental back, I realized being with Jeanette wasn't what I wanted anymore. I messaged her, "Don't wait up, I won't be coming home tonight." Her immediate response was, "Please come back, Dale, we can't fix anything without talking." I spent the night at a sports bar, engrossed in college basketball and NHL games, giving off an aura typical of someone feeling betrayed. Later, a server asked if I was coping with my wife's infidelity, reminding me that drinking wouldn't help. Yes, I agreed. Agreed. Jeanette awaited my return around 1:30 a.m. worried. My answers were evasive, and I avoided her attempts to hold me. I closed the bedroom door behind me and jumped into bed. The next morning I found a note from Jeanette saying she had left for work and that she loved me. Unable to stay home, surrounded by joyful memories that only fueled my rage, I went to work by noon and stayed till 9. "Will you come home tonight? I've also made dinner," her text read. I arrived home around 10 p.m., aware I had to be at work early the next day and couldn't afford a hangover. For the first time since Monday, Jeanette wasn't crying, sitting on the couch in her sweatpants. "We need to talk. Please don't close off from me," she implored. "What is there to talk about? You believed you were dying, so." "You behaved without thinking," I snapped back. "You don't understand," she insisted. "Then make me understand." "How does your talk with Tatiana about dying differ from what we're going through?" I asked. Tears filled her eyes again. "We were thinking of you guys, assuming you'd probably not make it." "Let's not fight tonight," she suggested. It wasn't like that I responded, feeling drained and frightened. "Are you thinking of divorce?" she inquired. "I have no wish to dissolve our union. I'm genuinely perplexed. Being near you sends shivers down my spine. The pain of feeling betrayed is unbearable. Can we just hold each other?" As I reached out, Jeanette rushed into my embrace. Her sobs persisted briefly before we detached from our clasp. "Sleep well, Jeanette. See you in the morning. Good night, Dale. I hold you dear." This marked my initial betrayal experience. Had I faced this in my youth, perhaps I would have understood that life continues. Currently, I stand perplexed. I'm mystified by the way supposed love can morph into mere longing. In the following days, we found ourselves at a standstill. Regrettably, I lack the means to contact Anne. Is she genuinely departing from Steve? If so, is she planning her exit? Have you conversed with Tatiana? Not since her unanticipated visit to my quarters last Monday. I've resolved never to contact her again. Her demeanor was off-putting, her tone sharp. She praised your dignified actions and bravery. She indicated you were privy to all details, hence my frustration upon your arrival. Have your parents been notified? Fred was quick to harbor doubts. Not precisely. I harbored hope we could overcome this hurdle, yet now it seems unlikely, doesn't it? I thought our love was profound, yet you've snuffed it out. Your presence now makes me uneasy. A part of me feels dead. Let's wait till next month before making any decisions. Jeanette's eyes were laden with tears. My soul felt void. I've been devoid of emotions for weeks, emotionally disconnected next to Jeanette. Jeanette, what lies ahead for us? Can you offer one justification for us not to separate because you're abandoning what we have? I committed an error I'll eternally lament, but it wasn't deliberate, it occurred spontaneously. I contest that notion. It transpired because you permitted it. Jeanette looked distressed. That's utterly false, damn it. To my knowledge, there was something between you and Tatiana. Trying to stay composed, so what are we pretending? Exactly how long have you two been close? I imagine reuniting with Steve was satisfying, wasn't it? This may have been Steve's first lapse, but I wonder about the number of other instances Jeanette drew her knees to her chest and huddled. My accusations seemed to strike her physically. Did you exploit our residence or merely hotels? Either way, you managed to keep me in the dark. Are you satisfied now? Sorry, Dale, those words were uncalled for. There were no others. It was a terrible decision in a moment of weakness. Can't we move past this solitary mistake? One thing is clear. Jeanette, you've sealed our fate. I sought a companion who could resist temptation. Now, I understand you'll always view me as deceitful, and I'll always fear you finding another situation to stray. This isn't the future I envisage for us. I'm too young to bear such weight. I'm proceeding towards a divorce. Oh God, no, please, Dale, I can't bear to lose you, Jeanette. It's time for me to advance. I don't react the same to your proximity. All I feel now is grief. You could not have wounded me more. I'll instruct my lawyer to start the divorce process. You'll be notified. No need for a public announcement. Tears welled in Jeanette's eyes. Her voice quivered. I'm truly frightened. I'll not contest it. What's to happen to our house? I think it best we sell it. Neither of us wants it, and financially it might be too much for you, she responded quietly. All right, Jeanette was served with the divorce documents at her residence 2 days later. This was fair, given we had little to divide. A nominal sum for child support was agreed upon for 2 years. As the divorce proceeded without dispute, it concluded in less than 3 months. Jeanette tried to influence my feelings, but I remained impervious, possibly by choice. Following the submission of my papers, I moved as predicted, since Jeanette struggled with the mortgage. The property was subsequently sold, and the modest proceeds were divided equally. Initially, Jeanette returned to her parents. She moved again later, her new whereabouts unknown to me. Thoughts of her evoke feelings of resentment and sadness. The thought of retaliating against Steve crossed my mind, yet I decided it was futile. If it means evading conflict, then avoidance is my preference. My stance on vengeance evolved through the divorce. Meanwhile, some old friends did their utmost to introduce me to single ladies, though I remained emotionally detached. After going on a few dates, the idea of starting a new relationship seemed unattractive. Does this foresee my future? 5 months following that experience, after attending selective career fairs, I received 2 enticing job offers. Despite my affection for my current employment, it paled in comparison to these new prospects. Upon discussing my options, I decided on a role near Palo Alto on the West Coast. Everything I owned packed into my vehicle, and my new apartment felt just as secluded as the previous, showing little to no improvement. I recognized the importance of a love life, yet I remained uncertain about what I sought from life. One night, reviewing the messages I had prepared brought comfort to my heart. Showing love and gratitude to those dear felt fulfilling, leading me to welcome the single life. It seemed as though I was snooping or reading someone else's diary while I looked through the messages Tatiana had penned. Her imaginative touch was clearly more refined. Her letter to my mother made my pulse quicken. I might not have found the perfect partner, but at least I'd depart this life in his company. Jeanette was lucky. I wanted to contact Tatiana, but Jeanette's information was outdated. Still, I thought it inappropriate to ask this favor of her. Remembering my chats with Tatiana as we awaited assistance, I recalled her parents' address. Among the collected items was our wedding photo album and a newsletter, unveiling Tatiana's birth name. Finding her parents was easy, and I left a note for her mom to reach out to me. Dale, is that you? How have you been? Oh, Dale, it's such a relief to hear from you. I've missed you so much. I'm doing great. What about you? I've earned my master's degree and landed a job on the West Coast. It's been a month since I moved here. Is Jeanette with you? No, I couldn't get over it. We've been separated for a few months now. How about you? Still with Steve? No, just like you. We tried living together for a bit, but it was too hard for me. I'm thrilled you called. What made you call? I was feeling down last week and came across the songs we used to write. Going through them cheered me up. Really, I had forgotten about those. Ah, you saw mine too, The Ideal Man, right? I didn't know she was such a good friend. True friends keep such secrets hidden so. Where are you now in Chicago? But you said the West Coast. We're in Palo Alto with an office in San Jose. How close is that? Palo Alto is about a 20-minute drive from San Jose, the airport I frequently use. Maybe I can get my boss to let me work from our San Jose office, or I could think about visiting the Windy City. Seriously, Dale. It'd be amazing to see you. I'm free this weekend. I know the airport well, so I can pick you up. How about we check for flights on Friday night? Could you sort out a place for me to stay? Of course, I'll see what I can do. You know, I didn't want any issues with your folks. I'll deal with them. Are you certain your pals will be okay with it? Just like you, I'll manage if it gets difficult. I'll bring some friends along. That sounds great. They can keep my friends company while we enjoy some checkers. I love your sense of humor, Tatiana, among the many things I cherish about you. We talked for over an hour and a half. Hearing her voice again was so comforting. Flooded with happy memories, I made a concerted effort not to dwell on Jeanette, and I managed. On Friday, I headed to work early and left by 11 a.m. for Chicago. I informed Tatiana I was en route to the passenger pickup area. Dale here. Upon picking up Tatiana, we embraced with a spin. I received the most heartfelt kiss of the year. Happy you're here. Starving? Yeah, I guess I could eat. Show me your favorite place. Let's head out. Do you want to drive? Preferably not. You drive in case we need to pause for a rest. Chuckling, can you grasp the ordeal we underwent? This moment has crossed my mind frequently following a delightful meal at Texas Roadhouse. Tatiana was at the wheel, guiding us back to the freeway. A sense of calm washed over me as we entered the Holiday Inn's lot. This is where my visitors from afar typically lodge, yet I've envisaged a different arrangement for us, she hinted with a gleam in her gaze. It'll be painless, correct? Merely if you resist surrendering isn't in my nature. Upon reaching Tatiana's place, she leapt into my embrace. Soft pecks evolved into fervent ones. Our fingers roamed, albeit Tatiana's with greater urgency. We tenderly aided one another in shedding our garments. Tatiana drew my head closer to her bosom. That evening immense pleasure was ours. Initially, things escalated swiftly due to our prolonged absence from intimacy. The initial encounter paved the way for a second, then a third. Our mutual yearning was insatiable, basking in ecstasy. Drifting into sleep satisfied, a short while later we professed our affection anew. Awakened by the sound of the shower and the morning sun's embrace, Tatiana stood bare, toweling her hair, greeting me. Morning, my dear. Was last night to your liking? Was it fantastical, or did it truly happen? Both. In my dreams you endured much longer. I playfully stuck out my tongue at her. Rise, sleepyhead. An entire day awaits us. The weekend was spectacular. I must have climaxed a dozen times. Come Sunday night, we parted, having agreed Tatiana would visit San Jose in a fortnight. When our joyous time neared its end, I sensed my feelings for Tatiana deepening. Her parting look hinted at similar sentiments. Midweek brought her confirmation. Evening, Tatiana. How fares your work this week? Splendidly, Dale. That's precisely why I've rung. A spot has opened at their San Jose office. I'm qualified. My affection for you is deep, yet I'll withdraw if it's unreciprocated. Should I admit my budding love for you, would that ease your decision? Indeed, 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 indeed. This facilitates. Contemplate on relocating. Skillfully secured fifth position. Indeed, I adore you, and I'm on board with the move. Our conversation spanned several hours. My mission became scouting an ideal abode for us, but considering proximity to her job, the airport, and my own employment. Once her transfer got the nod, her bags were packed. Merely 6 weeks had passed since her reconnection. At times, life accelerates like a snowslide. We proceeded cautiously. Each of us bore deep-rooted anxieties about relationships. Despite occasional disputes, we always made sure to end the day with embraces and kisses. My interaction with numerous young women at work sparked Tatiana's worry. Her travels with men did the same to me. It was during a talk, 10 months into our living together, that we reached a mutual understanding. I sincerely apologized, Tatiana. I acted as though I ranked fifth. If you can stay loyal amid temptations from your ideal man, then my worries about your travels dissolve. My trust isn't in men, so do avoid precarious situations. Dale, she retorted, I was unfairly petty in my complaints about your female colleagues. You've proven your reliability through our trials. While I may distrust the women, I'm convinced of your fidelity. A pause followed, then I dropped to one knee. I lack a ring or anything, given the spontaneity, but would you prefer to perish in this person's embrace or within your daydreams gently knocking me back and laying his torso against mine? He queried. Will it be a swift exit or have you other ideas, an extended exit, decades of enduring? Count me in with the company, men. We had a simple wedding in San Jose, then honeymooned as far from the chill as possible. Skiing lost its allure, never to be revisited. While our careers initially took precedence, after 8 years, Sarah joined our family, mirroring her mother. 2 years after, Maggie arrived, bearing resemblance to me, potentially posing more of a challenge. Social media revealed Steve's remarriage and fatherhood, and Jeanette's move to Maryland with 2 children. Neither Steve nor Jeanette reached out to us, nor we to them, putting that chapter of our lives to rest under a snowslide. What remains with you about today's narrative? It's the unfolding, especially towards its climax, that'll stick with me. Jot down your reflections on the story. Catch you in the next video.